What's up my loves, my name is Paige, this is Paige's Page, and today we're going to be doing some recommendations for the Camp Crystal Lake Readathon. Hello! So, if you don't know what the Camp Crystal Lake Readathon is, it is a readathon that has been created by Barb from Barb's Bookland, and I am the team captain for Camp Elm Street. So if you would like to see what it's all about, I'll leave it linked up above for the announcement video that I put up for my team and the team prompts that we have. You will also hear what the prompts for my team are here, as this is going to be some recommendations, 2 of which I have read and 2 of which I haven't read, that will fulfill each prompt. Before we dive into the prompts and the recommendations that I have for each individual prompt, I wanted to also mention that our group book is The Girl in Red by Christina Henry, and this will fulfill the prompt of claws on the cover as a wolf has claws. I feel like it also might fulfill the features fire, as she's going to be in the woods. So in terms of what I actually know, for the first prompt it is to read a book that features fire, and for that I have 2 recommendations that I have read. The first being The Magic in the Weaving by Tamora Pierce. This has 4 protagonists that have elemental magic. So this book in particular is following our weaver, however there is Daja and she has fire magic. Next up I have Dark Harvest by Norman Partridge, which fits for the Halloween spooky themes, and I know that this features fire both because it is on the cover in the jack-o'-lantern's face and it is also involved in the story. It's not a prevalent event, but it is definitely in here, and if you did want a really short read for the readathon as well as just to get in the Halloween vibes, would definitely recommend. On to the 2 books that I haven't read, the first being Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Obviously, whilst I haven't read it, I know that it features fire, definitely on the cover, and also because it is about burning books, and Fahrenheit 451 is the temperature in which paper ignites. I really don't know too much else aside from the fact that it's like a censorship book and does some uncomfortable shit with books. And the other recommendation I have but have not read yet is A Fire Country by Victor Stephenson. This is actually a non-fiction about Indigenous Australian land management and how fire and backburning is essential to Australia's land management. I keep eyeing it off in the bookstore and I'm very curious about it. It also does, again, have fire on the cover. That fire plays a very, very prevalent part to this, and I think it would be very interesting to dive into Victor's own knowledge. The next prompt is claws on the cover. So there are a few ways that you can interpret this. If there is a slash mark across the book cover, feel free to go for it, and like something crawling out. If you want to go for talons with a dragon or a bird, that would totally count. If you want to go actual claws like a cat, dog, or anything like that, feel free. But the 4 recommendations I have, I'm going to push this into as many people's hands as humanly possible, even if they're not ready for it. But the first is The Dragon's Bride by Katie Robert. This dude has some claws. So this is monster smut. It's very short and it's delightful. If you haven't read Katie Robert before, I'm not sure if this is the best place to start because it does go from 0 to 100 real fucking quick, given the size of the book and that Katie Robert does not shy away from sex scenes. But if it is something that you're interested in, now is an excellent time to pick it up, and I highly recommend it. Please let me know if you're going to read this. I did manage to get 6 people to pick it up for Not Safe Workathon, so I would love to see if more people will pick this up and how they get along with it. I apologize in advance if it's not your cup of tea, but I would highly recommend just giving it a go, seeing how it plays out for you. You can always DNF. Next up we have one of my all-time favorites, which I haven't talked about a lot frequently, and that is The Female of the Species by Minnie McGuinness. Jesus Christ, this cover is obnoxiously loud. On the cover we have a fox, an otter, a cat, and a dog, and they all have claws. This, I know that not everyone is going to love, but oh my god, this book ripped my soul out of my chest, and it's just very interesting. It is leaning into the dark and gritty for this time of year. It is not like horror, it is just darker themes are explored. Basically, the tagline on this is Alex Craft knows how to kill someone, and it's a coming of age, figuring out yourself and dealing with grief and loss. And it was very impactful when I read it. So considering there are 4 lots of claws on the cover, if you wanted to, I'd highly recommend picking this up if you don't go for the smut. Next up are the 2 unread. I'm gonna go with the Wolverine comics first. Obviously Wolverine has claws. If they're on the cover, then totally counts. There's a variety of different authors depending on what comics you go with and what area you want to read them with. If he's on the cover, he has his claws, so that will count. Yeah, I don't really know too much about them, but I thought that would be an interesting spin on how you could interpret this prompt. So if you can think of other superheroes that have claw-like things, feel free to go for it. The other one is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. This is the book that I will be going for this prompt because this bird has some claws. I'll also leave my announcement to the Chonkalong up above where we are going to tackle this beast. It is either 30 to 40 pages throughout the entire month or 60 to 80 pages a day if you want to read it in 16 days. I'm so glad I've given you some smaller recs because if you decide to jump on this beast, we're gonna need it. But I'm super excited to actually get to this and I feel like it's going to be a vibe. I'm definitely here for it and definitely feeling the October vibes. So if you did want to pick up Jonathan Strange, this will count for this prompt. Next up, we have a blind pick. So for that, it could be easily just closing your eyes and pointing at a book and that'd be that one. You could lay them out in a circle, spin around and pick one up. You could have someone else pick it, or you could just go in blind. So you have no idea what any of the book is about and just go from there. If you have a particular book that you want to get on your TBR but you know absolutely nothing about it, feel free to select it for this prompt. Then we have a book that has disability representation, preferably own voices representation, but I understand that that is a very niche pool because unfortunately publishers aren't putting out own voices disability representations with a lot of frequency. If you can find something and talk about it online to let publishers know that this is something that we want to see in our books, please go for it. But if not, a form of disability rep, preferably checking through Goodreads to make sure that it's done well. So the first 2 that I have read, the first is Out of My Mind by Sharon Draper. This is a middle grade that features cerebral palsy as the main disability representation. This is following our protagonist as they are entering mainstream schooling for the first time. I really enjoyed this when I read it and it's a quick middle grade that I think a lot of people will enjoy. Next up is Not My Type by Evie Mitchell. Again, another smutty novel because I don't do horror, so I'm just going to put as much smut as humanly possible while making myself look as horrific as possible. This is following Frankie, who is wheelchair bound and she is a sexologist and she has a podcast that deals with a variety of disability and sex related topics. She gets a question about roleplay and she has no experience in it, so she decides to find someone, Jay, who can teach her the ropes. And I had a lot of fun with this. I think it's a very cute, fun, easy to read novel. It is again quite short, but I'm really curious to continue on with the all access novels because there are a few in this series and all dealing with different disabilities. The 2 that I haven't read are Far From You by Tess Sharp. It is a YA that deals with a physical disability as a result from a car accident at a young age, and it's essentially described as a bisexual coming of age love triangle, which both concerns me and makes me intrigued. I feel like this is going to be very messy, but it deals with physical disability not from birth and having to adjust to having a disability. It seemed to have pretty good reviews and I believe Tess Sharp has a few different areas of experience with illness. And the other one that I'm super interested in is One for All by Lily Lainoff, and this features chronic illness. This is a gender bent retelling of The Three Musketeers and it just seems to look so fun. There has been a lot of positive reviews, especially about the representation, and so I'm very excited to get to it. So the last prompt for my team at Camp Elm Street is a book that features dreams, nightmares, or sleep. Given Nightmare on Elm Street, thought it was very fitting. There is Strange to Dream It there. So basically, if that has any of those words in the title, feel free to count it as well. But if you know that it is a plot point, feel free to go with that as well. So my recommendations, 2 that I have read, the first is The BFG by Roald Dahl. I absolutely love this. It's short, it's quick, it's beautiful, and it does have a very big focus on dreams and sleep. I love the back. I hadn't actually looked at this before. We is in dream country. This is where all dreams is beginning. And I love this so much. I think it's so cute. Then the other, honestly, I had so many options and this is the one that I've gone with. Not my other type, but it crossed my mind real loudly. I've gone with The Spindle Splintered by Alex E. Harrow. Again, to counteract Jonathan Strange, we need something short and sweet. So this is a Sleeping Beauty mixed with Into the Spider-Verse and having a variety of different sleeping beauties. So obviously that makes sense for sleep. I absolutely adored this. I thought it was so much fun. It is LGBT and I had a good time with it. It's very short and I think it does something different with fairy tales. We've seen a lot of it done the same sort of vibes and this provided a fresh take and I definitely really enjoy it and highly recommend it. Then for the two that I haven't read, I'm going with Dawn by Octavia E. Butler. I loved Kindred. This is the first in a trilogy. But basically the way that sleep is done is that our protagonist wakes up. They've been asleep for like hundreds of years and wake up in the middle of an alien spaceship. So this is an adult sci-fi. The introduction is they've been asleep for hundreds of years. So that features sleep. I'm not sure, it might not be the biggest component, but I feel like someone having to adjust to the shit that's going down after being asleep for that long will take some adjusting and it will be mentioned throughout, but I haven't read it so I'm not 100% sure, but since it mentions that in the synopsis I feel pretty confident recommending as a book that features sleep. The other recommendation I have is A Midsummer's Night Dream by William Shakespeare. Again, short, has dreams in the title. I haven't actually read it, so I can't remember schooling anything of the narrative. I know that I love Dead Poets Society, but I'm too busy crying my eyes out to pay attention to what the plot of Midsummer Night's Dream is within that movie. I don't know too much about it. I think there is a donkey. A guy gets turned into a donkey and there's a mischievous fairy. That's all I know. But if you wanted to listen to a audiobook of this and just have a chill out time, I feel like that would be a great one for that. So these are just some of my recommendations for this round of Camp Crystal Lake and I'm very excited to be hosting it. So I hope that you found something and or are now intrigued to pick one of these up. Let me know in the comments what's a book that you have or are interested in reading for this that fulfills one of the prompts, whether that be features fires, claws on the cover, has disability representation, or features sleep, dreams, or nightmares. If you do want to join my team, feel free to head over to Barb's announcement video. I'll leave that linked in the description and that will take you to the sign up sheet, and I'll also leave a link to our Discord for it where you can be sorted into my team and join our campfire chat. We will be having a watch along for Nightmare on Elm Street sometime throughout the month, so feel free to come and join for that because chicken shit here is concerned. Let me know in the comments all that information, and if you are participating or if you have decided to go to someone else's team and just came here to steal a book to get the points for your team. If you like this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more of this mess, feel free to subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you on my next video. Bye!